Well, I was going to actually share a couple of very interesting insights from Jewish tradition on this whole situation. I think that the rabbis of a later age who looked back on this biblical text felt incredibly uncomfortable with it, because the naked reading of the text can lead you to no other conclusion than that Hagar was treated with tremendous injustice. And how indeed how can we justify this kind of behavior? This is supposed to be all done with this was supposed to be part of God's will. So what they do is they create all kinds of elaborate subtexts in order to explain, to justify essentially what happened. One of the more beautiful subtexts is that Abraham's heart was broken because he loved, his love for Ishmael was so very strong, and that of all the 10 trials that Abraham underwent, including what's normally seen as the ultimate trial, which is the binding of his son and almost sacrifice of his son Isaac, in fact, the banishment of Ishmael was the one that was the hardest on him. This is Jewish midrash, by the way. Another midrash, there's a very strong midrashic tradition then that goes and examines what did Hagar do to merit this treatment. And it makes up a very elaborate story, how once Hagar became pregnant, she looks down on Sarah and she says, well, Sarah must not be everything that she makes herself out to be. You know, she pretends to be a righteous person, but inside she must have done something very wrong, because God is punishing her with barrenness, and look, at the instant I sleep with Abraham, boom, I get pregnant. So she's lording it over Sarah. And then when Ishmael is born, the Torah text is very oblique. It simply says they were playing. He was laughing, basically, is what it says. He was sporting with Isaac. What does that mean? The rabbis needed to interpret it. Well, one of the things that he was doing is he was saying, ha, 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 I'm going to get double the inheritance, you get nothing, you know. And another midrash says Ishmael was shooting arrows at Isaac and purposely just barely missing him, and then making a joke of it and said, oh, I was only teasing after all. And that was the point at which Sarah just snaps and she says, that's it. I'm not going to put up with this kind of thing. She felt that Ishmael was endangering her son, and also she had been told by God that her son was the one to inherit and to carry on the covenant. And there's one other thing also, which is used as kind of the way to really nail, you know, Ishmael and say, well, he definitely deserved to be kicked out, and that was a midrash that has Ishmael building altars and sacrificing to idols, which of course is the worst kind of, you know, that's you know, anathema. You couldn't do anything worse than that from the point of view of the Torah. So, you know, once Sarah sees this, she says, oh, you know, he's a horrible influence on my son. My son's going to see this. He's going to start to sacrifice to idols as well. I've got to get this bad influence out of my son's life. So basically, the rabbis need to find some kind of justification, because they are truly horrified at the treatment of this woman and her son. But once they invent all of these stories, they're able to justify and say, well, they really deserved it, and this is why.
Our understanding is a little different again in that, well, first of all, these are all people who, you know, these are mothers of lineages of prophets. And so we need to look at them with a different eye, I think. Our understanding is that, yes, the natural feelings of any human emerged in Sarah. So jealousy did emerge. And in her effort not to act on that, according to understanding, she asked Abraham to take Hagar away and with her son, so that their removal would benefit her in her, so she didn't act out any negativity or any negative intentions to these people, and so that she could maintain her purity. And in general, we look a little bit beyond these figures, and we look at what they symbolize and what they're moving and the way they really follow the will of God, what that actually has produced for us. And in each of them moving, and the whole fact that Hagar actually moved to the desert is the whole beginning of part of our Hajj ritual, again, referring back to that, the Saffron and Marwa and the water emerging and so forth. And what that whole move is even more significant than the interplay between these two individuals for us. Because what that water emerging from that barren place itself, too, signifies to us is that it allows that place, which is Mecca, to then be a self-sustaining place where people then could go for pilgrimage, and that place itself could support life now. And so therefore the pilgrimage there would be easier for people. And so this was like a symbol for all of mankind from that point on, that we could all go to that place now. And so the significance then broadens for us.
What role do you think patriarchy played in the story?
There's no biblical story without patriarchy. It's just endemic to the whole thing. But it's got to be. I mean, I think the lineage and you know, patrimony and the carrying on of the lineage is absolutely essential here. But it's interesting because I don't think that patriarchy is the most important thing in this story. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's what the story is really about. I think it's only the cultural background to it all.
In my view, the story in the Bible, the story offers a somewhat subtle critique of patriarchy because on at least 2 occasions, God tells Abraham to do what his wife tells him to do, or to submit to her. And so, in my view, it's exactly it's a very precise refutation of the. Even in the New Testament, you have a reference to Sarah obeying Abraham and calling him Lord. But what you see in the text is Abraham obeying Sarah.
Right.
And when he doesn't know what to do, and he's looking for guidance, and God says, "Well, do what she says." And so, you know, there's patriarchy out the window.